Hello every gaming buddy, and thanks for watching the first episode of GameSweep, my new show that keeps you fresh with the latest, hottest, and wackiest news in gaming. Learn all about this week's new releases for PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3, and listen up as I zero in on the titles Red Faction Armageddon and inFAMOUS 2. This is Daniel Culvyhouse, your host, and if this sounds like news to you, then subscribe to the GameSweep channel to support me. It's almost summertime, and what does that mean for the gaming industry? That's right, another slow season. In case you wondered why video games go through a dry spell about this time every year, well, with the warmer weather, gamers come out of hibernation and hit the beaches, the courts, and the trails, and publishers know it. That doesn't mean that all publishers have hit the pause button in June, though, which brings us to the hottest release of the week. The developer Volition and publisher THQ will release Red Faction Armageddon this Tuesday, June the 7th. Yep, it's the sequel to Red Faction Guerrilla, and this one's a triple release for PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. Like its predecessor, this one takes place on Mars 50 years after the events of Red Faction Guerrilla. Like the first one, this installment tantalizes us with totally destructible environments, and nothing is as satisfying as collapsing an entire building, sending your enemies screaming and flying out of the rubble. Armageddon has done away with the fully open world, though, favoring a more linear and narrative gameplay, a move that left many critics shaking their heads. But to compensate, Armageddon features what is perhaps the most innovative weapon that gaming has seen since the portal gun. It's called the magnet gun. To use this new gun on the block, fire one shot to tag an object, then fire a second shot at an enemy to pummel him with the first object. Or, fire the first shot at an enemy, then fire the second in the air and watch him try to fly without any wings. Red Faction Armageddon doesn't feature a full cooperative mode like the first one. Instead, Volition included a 4-player infestation mode, which pits a team of players against an onslaught of ugly aliens. Add to this the fact that a good portion of the game takes place in an underground cavern with mostly indestructible rock, and you can see why this has more than a few critics up in arms about this newest addition to the Red Faction franchise. Nevertheless, it's a must-have for any fan of Mars settings and destructible environments. If you need to bring yourself up to date on events between the two games, watch the Sci-Fi Channel's direct-to-TV movie called Red Faction Origins, airing throughout this week, starring Brian J. Smith from Stargate Universe. Not all blockbuster titles are triple platform releases, as we well know. Sony's new inFAMOUS 2, developed by Sucker Punch Productions, also releases on Tuesday, June the 7th, exclusively to the PlayStation 3. It's the follow-up to the exciting and groundbreaking inFAMOUS, and this time the setting is New Mirai, a southern-style city inspired by New Orleans. Like last time, the city is fully open world and explorable by your character named Cole McGrath, who learns to unlock as many as 50 superpowers and uses them to zap, torch, and freeze anyone who gets in his way. As you slosh through the city, you'll notice more varied settings and neighborhoods than the mostly concrete predecessor, inFAMOUS. From the neon red light district to the Katrina-like neighborhood called Flood Town, there are plenty of opportunities to take in the sights. Sucker Punch decided not to spoil all of this openness, so instead of adding a full multiplayer cooperative mode, they instead turned to user-generated missions, where gamers can build missions with a simple-to-use tool, then share the custom maps with friends, who can play them and rate them. All of this new artistic direction has generated mostly positive reviews by critics, but the general sentiment is that the sequel to inFAMOUS doesn't necessarily trump its ancestor. Unfortunately, the vast majority of us will never know either way, since exclusive PlayStation titles like these cater to a fairly small gaming minority. And there's one more triple release worth mentioning by Codemasters. Operation Flashpoint Red River also hits the shelves on Tuesday, June the 7th. It's another sequel, this time to the astringent title called Flashpoint Dragon Rising. This time around, the game is more like a tactical shooter, with decent single-player and co-op modes. Whatever awaits us in these modes, it should be a step up from the painfully realistic military simulator that was Dragon Rising. Like the last title, Codemasters got more mixed reviews, with critics impressed with the open world and draw distances, but then puzzled by the low-quality textures and sparse detail. Anyway, new releases aren't the only thing on our radar this week, is it? Behold, another E3 begins on June the 7th. And by the way, June the 7th seems to have become quite an important day in gaming, hasn't it? Watch E3's website closely to quench your thirst for new Mass Effect 3 footage and for new revelations on Bethesda's upcoming Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. And if you're too busy during the week to absorb E3, don't worry, come back to GameSweep for all of the latest Skyrim and Mass Effect info that came out of the expo. Now, what would the gaming industry be like without bizarre and wacky headlines every day, right? No, I'm not talking about another round of layoffs at Sucker Punch, which is becoming quite the norm among game developers. And let's skip the news about the LA Clippers' Blake Griffin trying to land a model role in Bethesda's upcoming Rage. I'm talking about what the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk did to US President Barack Obama. While Obama visited Poland, Tusk gifted him with a copy of The Witcher 2. Do you think he'll actually have time to play the sprawling game full of bosoms that defy gravity? Probably not. Finally, here is a quick recap of all of the new game releases this week. For the PC, look for Pride of Nations, the strategy game, Operation Flashpoint, Red River, the modern shooter, Red Faction Armageddon, the open world shooter, all released this Tuesday, June the 7th. For Xbox 360 gamers, watch out for Homefront Fire Sale, Operation Flashpoint Red River, the Red Faction Armageddon, and Green Lantern, Rise of the Manhunters, a superhero action adventure, all releasing this Tuesday, June the 7th. And for you PS3 fans, grab the Call of Duty Black Ops Escalation DLC pack, releasing this Friday, June the 10th. Also keep an eye out for Kevin Van Dam Fishing, a sports simulator, inFAMOUS 2, Operation Flashpoint Red River, Red Faction Armageddon, and Green Lantern Rise of the Manhunters. All on June the 7th. And that wraps up our sweep of the gaming industry for this week. Stay tuned next week for news on Duke Nukem Forever and the Fallout New Vegas DLC pack, Old World Blues. Subscribe to GameSweep's channel to support me, and by subscribing you'll always get the next edition of GameSweep the minute it's live. This is Daniel Colbyhouse, signing off until next time. Thanks for watching.